from them, and so far, even the drives that I have forwarded on to Seagate and their own data recovery company, conflict of interest was what I was going to say, but they cannot repair them either yet, as far as I know. So, nonetheless, right now, there's still some other problem that has been undetermined. Yes?
Worst brand and best brand.
Well, that changes. Worst brand and best brand changes and alternates. So, in 2003, we had a bad problem with, Death Star drives dying on a daily basis, and now we have Seagate's. Now I know of a Western Digital problem, and right now Hitachi seems to be, which is the IBM Death Star drive, seems to be the better one right now. So it rotates like every 6 months. I seem to have a different opinion of what that problem is for today. But they're all bad. They're all bad. They're all bad. Make sure you have duplicates, backup, redundancy, anything. Just trust me. I would be fine if you guys put me out of business and I never have to recover a drive again. As long as you do good backups, let's have good quality, please. So, anybody else? He's calling. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Actually, two questions from the stream. First question: in your opinion, what's considered secure in terms of software wipe? They were asking in terms of number.
Right. This is back to the secure delete, secure erase question. Basically, what is secure and why is it secure? You have to understand that when you guys are using like DBAN and things like that, it does not wipe bad blocks. I have actually taken drives that were certified by other companies that said, hey, we wiped it and we certified that it's erased, and all you have to do is clear what's called the bad block list, the G list, and then you can read from the sectors that were originally written to, because remember, 512 bytes was written, then it was determined to be bad, then it was moved to another location. DBAN wipes the other location. It doesn't wipe the original location. So if I clear the G list, I can read that content from those bad blocks. So the only secure program at erasing drives is the one that's part of the ATA command spec, which is done by the Center for Magnetic Research and Recording by Gordon Hughes. And so if you go to Center for Magnetic Research and Recording, you can find his tool, and it is part of the ATA command spec, and it will actually ask the drive to erase tracks and does it complete by comparison to what something like DBAN. DBAN makes requests through your computer, through the API, through, back out to the BIOS through the device. The ATA command sends it directly to the drive processes it on its own. It does it in phenomenal time. 500 gig drives are erased safely, getting rid of those bad blocks in about 2.5 hours.
12 gig slug, a lot better.
What's that?
12 gig slug.
Yeah, if you want to shoot them or something like that. The other thing that keeps being asked is about demagnetizing a drive or using a demagnet. If your drive still operates after it has been degaussed, it is not correct. Okay? You did not degauss it, okay? So because keep in mind, all the system area stuff is all magnetic on the disk. If it was degaussed, the system area can't function, and therefore your drive cannot initialize. So degaussing doesn't work unless as long as your drive is working. Otherwise, good. Yes, sir. What was the question?
Last question. What resolution O-scope would you recommend using?
I think it's like 2,000 per second or something like that. It's very high resolution. A lot of the oscilloscopes that are built into the data recovery stuff are much lower resolution stuff, and they're basically monitoring power by comparison. But I've got like I'm using like a 1200 megahertz or something like that to actually do some basic analysis. So it really is a question of what the device is you're looking at, because apparently when you actually move to solid state, it's completely different. So we're looking at different equipment for solid state versus spinning disks. Yes, sir?
When you say buy SCSI, do you include SAS?
Well, because we're dealing with, SCSI drives as a whole are still made better. His question is basically, SAS or something else like that. Those are combinations of pieces of equipment. At least they're still better than what the, race to the cheap stuff that you're buying at the store. That's really, it's all about who's got the cheapest part right now. They used to bake memory and stuff for like 3 weeks before they would send it out on a piece of equipment. But keep in mind, those USB memory sticks and stuff that you're buying at the store right now are the throwaways from the Ciscos and everybody else of the world. When your memory, didn't meet the qualifications for those devices, they throw them away and they become your memory stick. And that's exactly what happens with the lower end $80 1 terabyte drive. I mean, let's face it. How do you make a 2 terabyte drive for $130? Are you really going to? I'd rather pay twice as much and have a reliable drive, please. But, that's not the way the market works. Everybody's about, I need a terabyte for 50 cents. So I just think SCSI is still made better today. I see less failures. And, who's running SCSI servers? Yeah? So most of you in corporate, how often do you have to replace a drive? Yeah, right, once a year or something like that. It's still rare by comparison. No, I'm not saying it's always once a year, but I got drives that have been running 10 years. I got drives and all the stuff that we actually make advances in all of our stuff for IDE and SATA are all based on the advances that actually were made for SCSI in the first place. LBAs are all taken from SCSI. And actually the Seagate problem, this firmware problem, was actually an old problem apparently. The way I understand it was that in 7211, 7212 drives, they switched to the code that they actually originally used for SCSIs, and they used an old piece or something like that where a bug still previously existed that had already been solved in newer equipment but came back. You guys have heard this before. It's not a thing. All right, they're telling me go, so if you guys have questions, come find me.